Good afternoon and welcome to Paul T's World. And in this video we're going to have a look at the fragrant shrubs that are in my garden in flower in May. And let's start off with the Choicea ternata Sundance, or Mexican orange blossom. Flowers nicely, lovely white flowers, fragrant, but just look at these bright leaves. It's evergreen, so you're going to get this lovely colour in the garden all year. Grows well. In fact, sometimes it grows a bit too well, because if you do have this plant, or indeed any of the Choiceas, you'll see they do send up little runners nearby. That can be handy if you want extra plants for free, but do look out for that because they can form a little bit of a forest and they are big shrubs. Now, I've been quite excited to show you these new deciduous azaleas. They scent beautifully. They grow quite tall. In fact, the two behind me that I only put in last year, they can grow to 2 meters tall. Oh, they're so pretty. They're slightly over now, but I did video them last week when they were at their best. So let's see the two we've got. And the first one here, it's got a fabulous name. It's called Expiry Klondike. Even those leaves, just look at the leaves, aren't they gorgeous? Quite large flowers, scent nicely. And then just behind, we've got my second new deciduous azalea. And this is Davisii. Again, the leaves are looking nice and healthy. Lovely, fragrant flowers. Now we do have, just at the moment on these plants, we've got the seeds of one of the trees that are nearby, this downy seed that is covering all the houses around here at the moment. And so you can see there's just a little bit of it all over here. But this is a lovely shrub. Can you imagine that in a few years' time at 2 meters tall? My goodness me, it's going to be gorgeous. It is gorgeous already. Now, as we're here with deciduous azaleas, I'm going to show you the difference between the deciduous azaleas and the evergreen azaleas. So here we have the two deciduous ones. These will tend to grow tall, as I mentioned. And just behind, we've got an evergreen azalea. I've got a video actually of planting these two azaleas. That one's over. So if you want to see what I put in the planting hole to plant these azaleas, check out that video on planting azaleas. These two are both evergreen azaleas. That one flowered nicely a few weeks ago. And then this one, it's like a waterfall. It's not fully out yet at all, but it will be just absolutely total white all the way down here over the next few weeks, like a little avalanche. And in fact, you can see here how vigorous the Choicea is. I'm going to have to cut back the Choicea here because it's starting to come over this azalea. So there we have the two beautifully fragrant deciduous azaleas, the Mexican orange blossom, and now let's go and have a look at the other fragrant plants in my garden. And here we are at the front door where the two climbing roses are. We've got the yellow rose here, beautifully scented, and and the pink one here just a little bit later coming out. It's a beautiful fragrance to have at the front door. Lovely to have plants, especially in May as the weather's warming up and you're coming out in the garden more often. These two climbing roses will flower, repeat flower, right the way through the summer. So there's fragrance there at the front door all summer. Yeah, it's still lovely fragrance in spite of the fact that this lilac is getting over now. They only last 2 or 3 weeks, but it's still smelling strongly. Colour's starting to go on it. But let's go down the front garden and have a look at my other lilac. Just passing this bed that's opposite the front door, I've got another choicea there. We'll talk about the Philadelphus later on in the year when it will take over as a fragrant shrub. Always nice to have shrubs that are in flower in May and then another set of different shrubs that are in flower in June, so that the season moves on with new shrubs coming into flower in succession. And now we have the second of the lilac in the garden. This is in the front garden. Again, an absolutely gorgeous fragrance. The beauty of these large lilacs, syringa, is that you can cut them back as you like. They'll grow again, so you can reinvigorate them, you can shape them as you like. Fabulous plant. So that's near my front door, near the gate at the bottom of the garden, and the third lilac of the 4 that I've got in the garden is just over there. And here it is, Kim. I mentioned this last year. This lilac, Kim, has the strongest fragrance in the garden. It's a slightly different kind of lilac. It doesn't grow as large and you don't cut it back quite so readily. But the fragrance, my goodness. Yet another deciduous azalea. I seem to have quite a few now, and along with those first 2 that I mentioned at the beginning of the video, I'm getting a good collection, and each one of them scents beautifully. And so we have another one in full flower right now. Just look at the colours on this. It's interesting that the azaleas flower in succession. They don't all come out together. So let's just move down. Oh, there's the wine and roses. So let's just move down to this azalea bed here and have a look at these deciduous azaleas. So we can see in this azalea bed where I have 1 deciduous azalea, 2 deciduous azaleas. They're both completely over. Next to it over here we have another one that for some reason didn't flower at all this year. Oh, it's got this down on all these seeds on from these trees next door. And here are the evergreen azaleas. Now these don't scent. The flowering has been staggered. These are the early ones. Just got a rhododendron behind, looking nice. So it's easy with these azaleas, the fragrant ones, and indeed the evergreen ones, to have them flowering over a longer period of time, because some flower early and some late. So you end up with flowers right the way through quite a long period of time, from early spring, mid-spring, through to early summer. And here's the white lilac. It's quite an early one, so it's sort of over now, but let's just see if it still scents. Not so much now, this one pretty well over. But it's interesting, this white lilac. This came from an offshoot from my sister's garden, and it's grown very quickly and beautifully. So let's just see if we can see some offshoots from this one. And there they are. Now it's a bit unruly behind these shrubs here because I don't get here very often. However, let's see what we can see. Well, first of all, we've got an honesty here. There we are. It's called a money plant because of these seed heads look like pennies. But what we've got here amongst the bluebells, these are all suckers from the lilac. So I could dig any of these up, and indeed will do, pot them up, and they will form new lilac. And that's what my sister did when she gave me this one a few years ago. A nice yellow laburnum behind. The laburnum also seeds well, so you can dig those up, pot them up, and soon have new trees. And in fact, this one also comes from my sister's garden, from a seedling. So the last two shrubs in the garden that scent in May are two more deciduous azaleas. These are the two that I brought from another garden that were in pots, neglected. I planted them up in the border, rejuvenated them, lots of ericaceous compost, and they're doing so well. It's got a pretty little flower. Yep, that has that strong scent, that strong azalea scent. And here we have the last of the deciduous azaleas in my garden. All these deciduous azaleas have such strong, vibrant colours. Love it. Now, just the other day, I was at a botanical garden and they had lots of these deciduous azaleas. And I'm just now going to show you what these deciduous azaleas look like when they're totally mature. And when you walk along these woodland edges between flowering deciduous azaleas, the scent is beautiful. So let's have a look at what I saw the other day. Thank you for joining me on this tour of the fragrant shrubs that are in flower in May in my English garden. And I'll see you next time. Bye.